Most parents tell their kids to study hard, get a good job, and save money. Billionaire parents say something completely different. And that gap, right there, is why some families stay rich for generations, and most don't. Today I'm going to show you the 10 things ultra-wealthy families teach their children that nobody else does. Stay until the end. Number 10 will completely change how you think about time. Lesson 1. Assets over income. Lesson 1 sounds simple, but most adults still don't actually live by it. Billionaire kids learn 2 words early: active and passive. Active income is when you work for money. You stop working, the money stops. Passive income is when your assets work for you. You sleep, it earns. Warren Buffett's kids didn't grow up hearing, get a good salary. They grew up hearing, own things that produce income. Businesses, stocks, real estate, intellectual property. Here's the shift in mindset. Income pays your bills. Assets buy your freedom. Most people spend their lives trading time for money. Wealthy families spend their lives buying assets that trade for them. But owning assets is useless if you can't resist spending the money they generate. That brings us to lesson 2, and it's the hardest one psychologically. Lesson 2. Long-term thinking. This lesson is the one most rich parents obsess over, and it makes complete sense when you see the math. You would think that billionaire kids get everything they want. Actually, the opposite is often true. Many ultra-wealthy families deliberately limit access to money. They make their children wait, save, plan. Why? Because compounding only works with patience. Think about this. A child who invests 1,000 euros at age 12 at 10% annual growth has over 45,000 euros by age 50 without adding a single euro more. But the child who spent that 1,000 euros on something flashy at 12, they have a memory. The lesson isn't don't spend. The lesson is think in decades, not weeks. Rich families teach their kids to ask one question before every purchase. Is this a want or is this an asset? Lesson 3. Money is a tool, not status. You've seen the cars, the jets, the watches, but that's not what multi-generational wealth looks like from the inside. There's a famous study that found most American millionaires drive used cars, live in modest homes, and shop at regular stores. Why? Because families that preserve wealth for generations make a clear separation. Your net worth is not your lifestyle. Wealthy parents teach their kids that spending money on status is actually the fastest way to lose wealth. Designer clothes don't generate returns. Debt for luxury items is a trap. The saying in these families is simple. Rich people stay rich by spending less than they could. Meanwhile, many lottery winners and one-generation earners blow everything within a decade. Money is a tool. The hammer doesn't show off in the toolbox. So if it's not status, what do these families actually teach at home? The answer starts younger than you think. Lesson 4. Financial literacy starts early. By the time billionaire kids reach school age, they already know concepts most adults never learn. Warren Buffett started learning about stocks at age 11. He called it late wealthy families treat financial education like a core subject, right alongside reading and maths. Children learn how budgeting works, how taxes work, how credit works, what a dividend is, what equity means, how to negotiate. Some families give their children small investment accounts and review them together every month. Teens are brought into discussions about property analysis, business decisions, and charitable giving. By 16, some of these kids understand compounding, risk, and cash flow better than most adults. The difference isn't intelligence, it's exposure, but knowledge alone isn't enough. Lesson 5 is about something that might be the most underrated wealth habit of all. Lesson 5. Ownership is responsibility. Rich families don't just hand over wealth, they connect it to something first. Privilege and contribution go hand in most multi-generational wealthy families. Kids are expected to work summer jobs, even if the family could hire 100 employees. They present business ideas. They help in the family business. They manage parts of their own expenses. The message is consistent. Wealth is something to steward, not consume. This is exactly why so many trust funds get burned through in one generation. When money arrives without responsibility, it disappears. The families that last teach their children, You don't own the wealth. You're its temporary guardian. Number 6 is something schools almost never teach, but it might be worth more than your degree. Lesson 6. Networks are capital. Why do elite schools matter so much? It's not just the education. Wealthy families understand something most people miss. Your network is a financial asset. Opportunities don't always come from job boards. They come from a phone call, a recommendation, a dinner introduction. These families teach their children how to build genuine relationships, manage their reputation, communicate with confidence, find and keep mentors. Elite schools, private clubs, internships, philanthropy events, they're not just education or recreation, they're network infrastructure. A well-placed relationship can be worth more than years of salary. That's not cynical. That's just how capital flows in the real world. Now we're getting to the core of how wealthy families actually think about money over time. Lesson 7 is almost mathematical. Lesson 7. Compounding is a law of nature. Average earners think monthly. Wealthy families think in decades. And the math rewards one of those approaches massively. Albert Einstein allegedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether or not he said it, the math is real. The formula is simple. A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the power of NT. But what wealthy families do with this principle goes beyond money. They compound everything: skills, reputation, health, relationships, business systems. A small advantage in any of these, sustained over 20 years, becomes enormous. The middle-class mindset asks, what can I earn this month? The wealth mindset asks, what am I building that compounds? Time is the multiplier. The earlier you start, the longer it works for you. But you can't build any of this if money is a source of shame or secrecy. Lesson 8 is about something cultural and surprisingly powerful. Lesson 8. Normalize talking about money. In most households, money is emotional, secretive, even shameful. In wealthy households, it's just dinner conversation. Think about what most families don't talk about at dinner: how much they earn, what their investments are doing, how taxes work, what's in the will, how debt is being managed. Now think about what wealthy families do talk about at dinner: exactly those things. Children who grow up in financially open households absorb financial thinking naturally. They're not shocked by a stock market drop. They understand what a will is. They've heard about risk, cash flow, and strategy since they were 10 years old. Secrecy around money is expensive. It creates fear, bad decisions, and financial paralysis. Openness creates confident, informed adults. If you can't talk about money, you can't master it. And speaking of mastery, Lesson 9 is about the relationship with risk that most people get completely wrong. Lesson 9. Risk is evaluated, not avoided. There are two types of people who go broke: those who take reckless risks and those who take none at all. Wealthy families don't teach their children to avoid risk. They teach them to evaluate it. The questions aren't, is this risky? The questions are, what's the downside? Can we survive the worst case? What are the realistic odds? They understand the difference between a calculated bet and a gamble. Avoiding all risk is its own form of financial destruction because inflation erodes savings and missed opportunities compound into regret. The goal is never to eliminate risk. The goal is to take smart risks with asymmetric upside, where you can't lose much, but you could gain enormously. And now, Lesson 10, the one that ties everything together, and it has nothing to do with money at all. Lesson 10. Time is worth more than money. You can always earn more money. There is no mechanism on earth to earn more time. This is the deepest lesson wealthy families teach, and the hardest one for most people to truly internalize. Money lost can be recovered. An hour lost is gone forever. That's why wealthy families invest in systems, delegation, and leverage. They hire people to do things that don't require their unique skills. They build businesses instead of jobs because businesses run without them. They invest capital instead of just working because capital doesn't sleep. Every decision gets filtered through one question: does this buy me more time, or does it cost me time? They choose careers with leverage. They automate what can be automated. They guard their calendar like a bank account. Because at the end of everything, time is the only truly scarce resource. And the wealthy figured that out first. So let's recap what billionaire families actually teach their kids. 1. Assets matter more than income. 2. Delayed gratification is a superpower. 3. Money is a tool, not a status symbol. 4. Financial literacy starts young. 5. Ownership and responsibility go together. 6. Networks are capital. 7. Compounding is a law of nature. 8. Normalize talking about money. 9. Evaluate risk, don't avoid it. 10. Time is more valuable than money. None of these lessons require a trust fund to learn, they require a mindset shift. The gap between wealthy families and everyone else isn't just money, it's what they teach. Start teaching it to yourself today. If this episode gave you one new idea, share it with someone who needs it, and I'll see you in the next one.